Well, here we go. We're back on it. Yes, we are. We're going. And when we're done going, we're going to go some more. Welcome, my friends. Welcome. What you're looking at here is Ride Along with Runman, the podcast where Runman rides, and you come along if you'd like to. I'm your host, Runman. I have a word for the emotions that are running through my system right now. I'm not sure how descriptive the word is for the actual thing, but I have one. I think I know what it means. I'll share it with you if you want. The word for the place that I'm at emotionally right now is nonplussed. Have you ever been nonplussed? Let me know if you have. Earlier today, I considered doing a regular segment or considering a regular segment on the podcast and naming that segment something like reverse Q&A. That ladybug hit me right in the nip. Whew. I wonder if you guys saw that. Awful friendly around here. These are the burbs. Got some friendly folks around here. Well-to-do. Things seem to be going well from the outside. Looking at these roads and these houses. Although this is California, mind you. No matter how great things are going, the roads are going to be a little rough. And that's just a fact. Now, to go back to nonplussed, I believe that nonplussed is something like a processing emotion, or like one of those strange emotions. You might be between a bunch of emotions. You've got a lot of them percolating and all kind of vying. I kind of think of nonplussed as, part shock, part indifference, part energy that doesn't know really where to go, and the rest of the pie chart of nonplussed is every emotion that you can possibly experience, all percolating at the same time. I think it's something like that. For me, I'm often nonplussed after I've been stressed for a while. And typically, stress doesn't like to stay with me for a while, but I prefer to hold on to it. So that's already a bit of a non-equitable, non-mirroring, non-copacetic relationship that I have with a basic human function, which is the stress apparatus. The way of being with stress. It's funny. I'm jogging. It's not lost on me that I'm volunteering some stress upon myself. Bodily. And of course, I was talking with a mentor about this the other day. Yesterday. Running and good amounts of any kind of exercise, I would say, can, for some people, be a good salve or a good soothing cream that you can lay upon your system across your various faces, such as your emotional face, your spiritual face, your business face, practical face, whatever. However you want to divide them up. I would consider, if you're in the process of living this life and weathering as you're doing it, that salve, that topical application of exercise or volunteering discomfort, particularly in a way where the end result includes a heightening of your painkiller circuitry, your internal painkiller circuitry, your internal antidepressant circuitry, that kind of thing. That kind of stimulation, that kind of allocation of resources, that kind of behavior that I'm doing right now in the form of jogging. I know you've got your way of achieving this state. And it's a slightly different flavor depending on who you are, what you're using, or what you're doing. So I'm not going to judge you or your condition or how you get to good places. But one thing that my mentor and I were talking about when we discussed this subject of exercise to move through pain, or exercise to center yourself, or exercise as a habit that you use to lift yourself up through the potential versions of yourself that you can be that day. A lot of folks find that their day really kicks off after they've already exercised, so they try to do it early so that more of their day can be after that win, you know. I sometimes do it that way. Not always. But whenever I do it, and whatever the result is, which, by the way, always a net positive, unless I'm absolutely crashing and burning, which has happened. Sometimes I've done that consciously. We talked about me running marathons. That's above my skill level. But I did it. A couple of times. Not well. And it hurt for weeks afterwards. But I got there. Hips and knees. Barely, perhaps. But I did it, so I know I can. That's cool. But going back to this emotional state, exercise is, at the end of the day, one thing. Yeah, you can exercise all day, every day. Maybe. I know some people are paragons of that form of living. I know some folks are forced into that form of living. I know people, well, the people that I was raised by, well, the people that raised them fled nations. Some of them were people who had fled other nations in the world where there were things like labor camps being set up. And that's pretty scary. And then you have people who volunteer at Lake Goggins and those guys. Good for them. They'll just lift a log and run with it. There's value in that. But for me, because I recognize exercise is one vector of happiness, one vector that I can put into in order to get a return of a positive boon across my systems, I recognize that this thing, this exercise thing, has strengths and has drawbacks. One drawback, the thing that I've been trying to get to for a hot minute with y'all, is the one that involves practical application. Practical application is you put in and you take out. The practical application of other healing processes is different because their qualities are different. They're different things, right? Surgery is an acute, incisive form of damage that you do to a human being or to other things whose end result, hopefully, is that for a little bit of damage you get a huge payoff, particularly if the physical therapy goes well, particularly if the patient is in a situation where their body is ready, rip-roaring, ready to go, basically throwing stitches off of itself because the healing factors are dialed in. That person's locked in and good to go. But they just happen to be injured, so a little bit of surgery, a few weeks, couple of months, few months, of recovery, for the bone to set, for the gash to fill in, for the scar to kind of settle and diminish in size with massage and all that stuff. And they're ready to go. And if it's only at 90%, 98%, 95%, a lot of folks think that's okay. That's acute healing. Exercise is great for long-term healing boons and for general healing boons. And it's great when used in synergy. For example, physical therapy is, that's typically stretching and getting blood flow into places and loading muscles and ligaments and things that were torn and bones that were broken, that were set. So it can synergize with acute healing. But it is not the best tool for everything. If you try to heal everything using only one tool, that's a problem. Particularly if by the time you come to the junction where this tool doesn't work, hasn't been working, you've been presented with better options. I say you, I mean me, for all intents and purposes across these discussions. That's where I've noticed these problems happening. But these things haven't been working. Other things could have helped, but you didn't do them. Or you did, but you always went back to your defaults. Your exercise, your mantra, your whatever your modality is. And by that juncture, perhaps you've barnacled yourself to this modality to the point where you decide to double down. 9 hours of running a day isn't enough. I'm not feeling good about my life. I have some acute, very specific emotional injuries or physical debilitations, let's say. I'm going to try to cure all of it with running. It could happen. 9 hours wasn't enough. The surgeons are saying that it's getting worse. I'm going to double down. Let's hit 18 an hour. I don't need to sleep. I don't need to eat. Well, that might be it for you. Might be it for you. It might help. It might be it for you. Because there's no you at the end of that sentence. Because we're human. Humans make a lot of agreements. One agreement is that we have basic limits. Tax a muscle enough, it's just not going to work for you. Or it is, and prove me wrong. Show me a fast twitch muscle fiber that you can activate at maximum load forever, through sleep cycles, through whatever. I'm almost kind of giddy because that is an absurd conversation. One thing about being really open-minded is that you're going to enter more readily into longer conversations that end in absurdity or are accompanied or characteristic of archetypical, just absurdity incarnate, before you pull out of the conversation and do something productive with your time. Let's take a moment to breathe. I started off the podcast so well. My goal today, well, let's call it a soft goal, is to get up and over the hill. This is not the characteristic hill. This is cat sitting hill. This is not the typical day or the typical time. I would have preferred to be out a little bit earlier, to have been back by about this time, because we're getting up in about rush hour time. And yeah, I'm not downtown or anything, but I am doing a lot of head swiveling, and I'm doing a lot of micro correction, because the streets are just a little more alive than they usually are when I get to them. And this is not an area that I'm quite as familiar with as my typical haunts. So we prioritize. Looking and listening are high on that list. Talking is in the middle, particularly because we have the camera. Goals. We've been wandering around in a nebulous soup of motivation without any clear end game, you and I, on this podcast. But this is episode 10 of the test series. I told myself that I would only do one batch of 10 or so as a minimum deliverable before seriously considering if I was going to do this. I've already put a few hours behind the scenes to try to link these podcasts up with platforms that might have me. I'm looking at those platforms more and more, and I'm currently housing a lot of stuff on YouTube. Just for storage for the time being. My phone can only hold so much. It's 5 years old, 4 years old, something like that. The battery is still amazing. The one exception to that is that it only charges to 87%. You see that hill? That's our hill. This guy looks like he's gonna go. Okay, good. I'm not as worried about turn signals. Here we go. I'm not as worried about turn signals as I am about body language and vehicle telegraphing. That person had the ladder too, so I wasn't really too worried. Oh my God. This will happen in the wild. I will be presented with challenges such as running up these slopes, taking you along for the experience. I'll let you know if I start looking and seeing my heartbeat in my field of vision. And I'll tell you what, since I'm allowing my verbal self to take a middle seat for the next few bends as I round this hill, I'll take this chance to briefly catch you up on tech. I'm listening because there's a lot of corners. You need to hear cars. You don't have a lot of time to see them. Okay, that guy went up the driveway. You are above my navel. Your screen, the phone that I'm using, is not recording my belly button or upper abdomen. Hey, there we go. I love warning. That was good. That was a good, safe interaction. You, my viewer, are on wing cam for a second time. Here we go. I listened and I knew what was happening. Whew. Damn good. A lot of construction up here. There were fires. Now there's rebuilding. There's been rebuilding. There's much more rebuilding. You'll see what I mean as we climb. I promise. Treehouse. Okay. No one's behind me. Still, that's good. Okay. Oh, here we go. Whew. these hills. Okay. I think we got more coming. But we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. I'm trying to keep you pointed wherever my torso is pointed. I'm having success, and that's good. I've been up this hill and down this hill 10 times or less in my life. I know it enough to have that nice little cocktail of smoldering novelty. After all, with construction, it does look different every now and again. Whoop, I knew it. Whew. I'm good, you guys. I'm good. Whew, I got this. Not bad, huh? Not bad for a guy who's wearing an earpiece on his left side and looks left to detect a far-off vehicle speeding his way. They're not speeding. Don't mischaracterize the public now. This is the internet. The public is my people, and I love you guys. I'm not here to spurn you. I'm here to be a part of this really cool thing. This girl. I just passed somebody doing driveway barbershop antics. That's fun. But yeah, that's all I have to say about tech. Oh, you know how it is. We could lament for a period of time that I spent hours behind the scenes today trying to find a rig that would fasten the camera to me so I could go hands-free and not worry about it. But despite an abundance of equipment, I couldn't find a good way to make it work. And that's okay. Things don't have to make work. Things don't have to work all at once. They don't have to. It'd be lovely sometimes. But if it has to be wing cam it is. I'm already a runner. This is where things really take off. I've got to hold you up at 45 degrees so you don't only see the street. After all, that's why we're not using Grundle cam. Remember? Nope. A good sign. I still can't see my heartbeat. Oh, here we go. Here we go. Let me get off the beaten path here. Oh, they're heading into this driveway. I could have just kept going. You can guess how many times I've asked myself that question in this life. How often have I asked myself, should I duck out of the way? Or will everything work out if I just keep going? And then I duck. And then everything's fine. And then I have the chance to laugh or cry or be nonplussed. Can you guess which of those three I'm embodying, somewhat through speech, more so through body language you can't see. There. You like that? It's pretty. It's pretty. Look where we are. We made it. We're alive. And we're almost on the top. That's what I'm talking about. My stomach is up in my lungs. Surreal. Nauseous. We've all been there. Powerful. I guess. We'll take a moment right here. Now you're at eye level. Now you see what I see. Our muscles brought us here. Our grit, our compromises, our support systems, what it was like when we were babies. Okay, we're running again. What it was like when we were babies. What it wasn't like. Well, all those things and other things brought us here. Remember in the first episode where we talked about arriving here in the present moment together? And that's the whole point of me speaking into a microphone while dying on a hill. Welcome. Welcome. And you continue to be welcome. You can keep on coming along. You're invited to the party. Okay. Going fast. Down. Okay. Remember the metaphor, kids. I just lived it. The uphill was the slow route. Then we evened out and things felt smooth. Right? I'm sorry. Okay, complete the thought, buddy. Remember what happens after smooth? Fast. Well, it went fast, didn't we? For a second. I suppose if you wanted to really milk that metaphor. Oh my God, how do I hold this? If you wanted to milk that metaphor. You could say, oh, it's pretty. You could say that the hills are life themselves. You go slow, and then you break even, and then it's almost like an elevator ride. Or like you sprout wings on the top. You feel me? It's all descending and evening out from here, I think. I'll try not to make this super jarring for you, but my footfalls belie my fatigue as my breath does. Small steps, how about that? We're scooting. We're scooting. The amount of rubble tells me, tells me that it's really easy to slip on this slope. I only caught a couple of words. I got viejo, which means old, right? I could be wrong. I also got a key, which is here. I assure you, I do not feel like el hombre viejo aquí. Mañana, no sé. Por hoy. For today. Nada. No. Poquito? No. I'm so bad. No, I'm good. At least I said something. It's okay to look like a fool. In fact, remember, we encourage it. On this here podcast, I just ran a hill. If I look like a dang old fool while I do it, then I'm a fool who can run a hill. I'll take that over being a guy who looks good in front of people, but knows he can't run that hill. Or hasn't done it, so hasn't tried. Besides, the sooner that we all learn that we're fools, the sooner we have the opportunity for the humility and for the forgiveness of self that can come so easily when we become humble. Clearly, I haven't achieved this because I'm talking about it as if, in my talking about it, I tend not to like to talk about things I don't know anything about. I'm taking a stab at it here, and I am fully aware it doesn't paint me in the least narcissistic